things to make the children happy. And whether Macy or somebody else sells the toy doesn't make any difference.
So we are here at Hollywood Forever Cemetery today for the service of Edmund Gwenn. Edmund Gwenn is most famously known for playing Santa Claus in the 1940s adaptation of A Miracle on 34th Street. He was lost for over 60 years, and they finally found him. You guys will hear the story here on the channel momentarily. But he was lost. They lost him almost immediately. I don't know how they would have done that.
We probably should have practiced that.
You all had a chance to come and pay your respects to Edmund before he is inurned, and he will come to the holidays. So, thank you again, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Jessica Whal, the woman who made So now let's get to know Edmund a little better. I think a lot of us here know and love him as evidenced by the numerous hats as Santa Claus on Miracle on 34th Street. But of course, he was a versatile and prolific actor. So I've just written up a little bio so you can get to know him a little bit better. Edmund Gwenn was born Edmund John Kellaway in London, England on September 26, 1877. He began his acting career on the London stage in the 1890s. Acting became something of a family affair. His brother Arthur Chesnut and his cousin Cecil Kellaway were both also noted actors. And in 1901, he would marry Minnie Terry, a member of the Terry dynasty of English stage performers. The marriage was short-lived, but they remained close friends throughout their lives. In that era, acting was still not seen by many as a reputable profession, particularly by Edmund's father, who disapproved in his career choice. Early on in his career in theater, Edmund would often wear disguises like a false beard and use a stage name, Edmund Gwenn, to ensure no one would recognize him and inform his father. During these early years, he would perform in many of the plays of George Bernard Shaw, like Man and Superman. His acting career was interrupted by military service during the First World War, but after peace was restored, Edmund returned to the West End stage, where he continued to hone his craft and delight audiences. He made his first screen appearance in 1916, while still in the Army, in a film written by Peter Pan author J.M. Barrie. Edmund would continue to work steadily for the rest of his life on the London stage, on Broadway, and in films. Notable among his early films are The Good Companions, alongside John Gielgud, and Alfred Hitchcock's adaptation of The Skin Game, a role he had reprised from the stage. He would work with Hitchcock several more times, including a memorable role in The Trouble with Harry in 1955. But many of us here, especially this time of year, will always remember Edmund Gwenn for his role as Kris Kringle, Hollywood's quintessential Santa Claus in 1947's Miracle on 34th Street. It's the story of a Macy's department store Santa who claims to be the real Santa. Curiously, the role had originally been offered to his cousin, Cecil Kellaway, but when he turned it down, the role was offered to Edmund, who jumped at the chance to play Santa Claus, and aren't we glad he did? The role would not only live in the hearts of moviegoers for decades, it would also earn him a Golden Globe and an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Let's take a moment to take a listen to Edmund winning that Oscar.
It is my privilege to be the first to discover the winners of the award for the best performance by an actor in a supporting role. And this is a superlative list indeed. Charles Bickford in The Farmer's Daughter, RKO Radio. Thomas Gomez in Ride the Pink Horse, Universal International. Edmund Gwenn in Miracle on 34th Street, 20th Century Fox. Robert Ryan in Crossfire, RKO Radio. Richard Widmark in Kiss of Death, 20th Century Fox.
The applause may give you a clue.
The winner?
Here's the winner.
Edmund Gwenn in Miracle on 34th Street.
Santa Claus in Miracle on 34th Street, congratulated by at least 20 or 30 people while he's making his way down to over the footlights and down to the stage on this end backstage. Here he comes.
Teddy, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy. Now I know there's a Santa Claus. Oh, you may laugh, ladies and gentlemen. It's not so easy to be certain, you know. He's a most elusive little fella. Turns up in all sorts of places, under all sorts of names and disguises. First time I ever met him, he told me his name was George Seaton. And wonderfully, George Seaton had his revenge by bringing him to life. About a year and a half ago, he suddenly turned up at Culver City and told me his name was Metro Goldwyn Mayer. That was the day Metro agreed to loan me to Fox to make the picture. And now, I think it's time Santa Claus added a word to his name. I think he ought to call himself Santa Claus Incorporated. Santa Claus Inc. Inc. For then it will embrace all you wonderful, wonderful, kind people who have done me the honor of making me stand here tonight. Thank you, all of you, for making the evening of my life such a happy one. Thank you.
Now, many of you may be wondering, if Edmund died in 1959, some 64 years ago, why only now is he being laid to rest here? Well, that's a story into itself, and for that, I turn the microphone back over to Jessica, who will regale you with that story.
Something about hearing his voice and looking at him. So now, believe it or not, we are all here today because of the fifth Mark's brother, Margaret Bob Satterfield, who's sitting right here, is the one that has gotten Margaret a final resting place now at Chapel of Pine. So thank you, Bob, for that. But at the time, we did not know that. It was another day of Arthur and me working downstairs in the vault. Arthur was tackling Vault 5, and I was in Vault 1, listening to whatever song was playing on my Vault Tunes playlist. I was sitting on the floor cataloging names on the bottom row of one of the hundreds of shelves in the room where I was working. I faintly heard Arthur speaking to me from all the way down the hall. I turned off my music and yelled, "What?" back at him. He came into the vault and asked if I had moved Margaret Dumont. I was confused and told him no, thinking, why the hell would I move her? He then told me that he couldn't find her urn. Now, this was very puzzling because Margaret was an easy urn for us to find initially, And we both had pictures of her urn on the shelf. And as far as we knew, we were the only ones coming down into the vaults. We walked back into Vault 5, which, if you've seen the video, you get an idea of what that particular space looks like. It's small in width, but the shelves reach far, far above your head. It almost gives you the feeling of being in the tower of a castle, only the walls are lined with urns and not stone bricks. We stood in the doorway and stared at the bottom shelf where her urn had been, and she was just gone. The larger urn that had been on top of hers was now on the floor, and Margaret was nowhere to be found. This was a bit spooky because, again, to our knowledge, we were the only ones who had been down there. Arthur decided to climb up the rickety wooden ladder that I'm pretty sure has been there since the crematory opened. In order to look higher up on the shelves, while I got on the floor and began looking at the surrounding shelves to see if she had been moved, or had walked away because we were seriously stumped. I turned to the shelf on the other wall that was diagonally opposite where Margaret had been, and began looking at the labels on the rectangular copper stacked urns. There was a giant urn on top covered in paper that was awkwardly placed, and so out of curiosity, I took it and looked at the label. Edmund Gwenn. I said it out loud just to make sure I was reading it right. Arthur heard me, and his gentle reply was, "Shut the F up." Thinking I had to be messing around with him. I said it again, and even while he descended the ladder, he still didn't believe me. I finally held up the urn with the label facing out so he could read it plain as day for himself. We made sure to double check the date on the urn with Edmund's actual death date, thinking maybe this could be some other guy with the same name. But it wasn't. It was our Edmund that we had been searching for. Arthur pulled out his camera and began recording my reaction. What you see in his video is me in shock, but also filled with such amazement and disbelief at what had just happened. We both kept staring at the urn and were even more amazed after we took all the paper off and saw that he was in a beautiful and almost pristine bronze urn with his name etched on. After we called Danny, the manager of Chapel Pines, to tell him the good news, we took Edmund into Vault 1. Arthur told me he wanted to record a short interview with me explaining what had just happened. I know what I said now after seeing the video, but I had no clue what I was saying at the time. 1 minute I had been on the floor typing names, dates, and cremation numbers, and the next thing I knew, I had found Santa Claus. I was on a high for the rest of the day, and I think I even texted Arthur a few times in the days after just to make sure that it actually happened. I had never given up hope that we would find him, but it continued to be surreal. I had the honor and the privilege to find Edmund that day in March, after he had been considered lost for over 60 years. Lastly, I have to thank my partner in this bold adventure, Arthur Dark. I won't overload you with compliments or laud you with praise, because I know you wouldn't like that. So I will simply say, we thank you. And by we, I mean me, and the 14,681 souls in the vaults who have been given their names back with your help. Names that we said aloud one more time. Thank you.
Alright guys, so this is the niche right here where Edmund Gwenn, or Santa Claus, is going to go. There's a stocking here where Arthur Dark from Hollywood Graveyards is having whoever wants to do a letter to Santa Claus, and they're putting it here in the stocking.
Really? Behind you. Folks, on behalf of Hollywood Forever Cemetery and myself, we would like to give our sincerest thanks to Jessica Whal, Arthur Dork, and of course, the family of Mr. Edmund Gwenn for allowing us the privilege to have a Christmas legend be laid to rest on our grounds. We cherish his memory, and we cherish the wonderful moments he shared with the world, and may he rest in peace.
Yes. Thank you, Jeff.
Edmund Gwenn in Miracle on 34th Street.
Now I know there's a Santa Claus. Thank you, all of you, for making the evening of my life